The Democratic presidential candidates are battling over the soul of the party with progressives versus moderates. I asked NBC's Chuck Todd what this means going forward for the frontrunners. Who can get across the finish line, and can anyone?
Well, you know what's interesting here, Charles, is that as you start to look deeper into the potential support levels for Bernie, Warren, and Biden, you start to realize it isn't as simple as, oh, Bernie and Warren are together and Biden is over here. The split is slightly different than people realize. Bernie's base is a populist, non-college educated, working class base of voters, where Warren's is a college educated, almost overly educated crowd, sort of the wine track is sort of a, and then Biden has a little bit of everybody. And ironically here, this is what I think makes this a fascinating three-way dynamic, is that I think there is a segment of voters that Warren needs that Biden is holding on to right now, which is basically a bunch of people who are like, don't test the premise on beating Trump, just go with Biden. And Bernie believes, and Biden believes, that Bernie is sitting on some vote that will more comfortably be with Biden someday than with Warren. So I think this dynamic is more complicated than we make it out to be sometimes. And it is not as simplistic as just assume all the Sanders people will end up with Warren or vice versa.
Sure.
That is not what you see inside those numbers.
So you're seeing more than 3 lanes versus just 2. Let me bring your attention.
I only see 2 where there is just some sharedness between them.
Yeah, okay.
I will tell you this, Charles. I think if there was a 3rd lane, we'd be talking about a 4th or 5th candidate in the top tier. Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, maybe Buttigieg, maybe Booker. But there's no space in between Warren and Biden ideologically, right? The gap. You're either on the pragmatist, moderate side, or you're on the big, bold idea side.
We've got about 30 seconds left. Let me ask you about this. 2 names have surfaced to try to replace Congressman Sensenbrenner. They're thinking about it. Matt Walker, the son of the former governor, and Matt Newman, the son of a former congressman. Are the Republicans looking for this younger generation of potential leaders here to take on the AOCs of the world? Do they need them?
I do think they need youth, but I also think they need more than just white guys on that front. But let me just put a word of warning in here for Governor Walker's son. And I say it this way. I've seen before a lot of sons of polarizing figures, whether on the left or right. What the downside is, you acquire all of your parents' political enemies, but you don't usually get all of their political supporters.
Interesting.
And more times than not, that is a difficult thing. I remember Dan Quayle's son really struggled. He got 1 primary, but then ended up getting, and he didn't make it to a 2nd term. It is hard to get out of being defined by your parents.
Remember, if it is Sunday, it's Meet the Press. You can watch Chuck Todd and Meet the Press right here on today's TMJ4, starting every Sunday morning at 8.